What is it, y'all? Welcome back to Appreciate Greatness. Today, we are going to be doing a one-round mock draft, predictive mock draft. I think this is the first of its kind that I've ever done on this channel. I don't normally predict what teams are going to do. It's very unpredictable, obviously, the draft is. But also, it's just not as fun to predict rather than going through different situations or things that I would do and giving all my thoughts and feelings on players. But we're going to be doing a predictive mock draft of how I think the first round is going to end up going. Obviously, starting 1-1, this top three, this first pick, it's still very, very up in the air in my opinion. I think it could be either any of these three. I think they all fit perfectly with what the Wizards are trying to do. The only reason I lean more towards Darren Peterson or Cam Boozer is just they need a passer, kind of. But they also have Trae Young now. So I don't know. I think it's going to be AJ. AJ was a just prolific scorer, one of the best scorers in college basketball history. Obviously, defense a concern. Feel is a little bit of a concern, passing the three ball. But I do think that the Wizards are just going to take the best scorer or the best player they see available. And I think for them, that's going to be AJ DeBonta. At number 2, with all the things coming out about Darren Peterson, I don't think it really matters. But I do think that Cam Boozer is a sneaky nice fit to the Utah Jazz. I'm going to explain why I think that the Jazz will do this. I wouldn't do it, but I think the Jazz will because Cam Boozer is an elite rebounder. Lowry Markkinen's an elite rebounder. They love running Lowry at the 3. Move Jaren to the 5. He has those foul trouble concerns, whatever. Walker Kessler, they're in a big contract debacle. Utah kind of had that same thing with Gordon Hayward happen. Gordon Hayward went to the Celtics from that. I think this is another one of those situations where it could happen, and I think Cam Boozer actually fits a lot better in Utah than people give him credit for or people talk about just because of the rebounding, the passing, and the ultimate fact that you can move Jaren to the 5 and let Cam Boozer go. And, I mean, you can run a 5 out of beauty. You can run a 4 out, 1 in with Cam Boozer making plays as the 1 in. I really like the idea around Cam Boozer to the Jazz. And then at 3, obviously, it's the one guy that doesn't go. Darren Peterson, to me, will fall to the Grizzlies, is what I'm predicting. Peterson's had the cramp concerns, but he's my number 1 player on my board. And I think that he's going to turn out to be a 6'6" point guard in the way that, you see Shea or Cade being point guards. But he's got good feel. He's got insane burst. Really great bend when healthy, and I think that's something he didn't get to showcase at Kansas. Also just had a really bad offensive atmosphere around him. At 4, I think it's the most obvious. The slap team, Caleb Wilson, is going to go to the Bulls. At 5, the pick that's been picking up storm is Mikal Brown, and I think this is a smart play by the Clippers. Just take the best player available. Don't really care about fit, and if they think Mikal Brown's the best player available, then do that. Playing him alongside Darius Garland might be interesting because they both are passers, ball-dominant guys, but I think they can both play off the ball better than what they've been credited for so far throughout the cycle for Mikal Brown and throughout his career for Darius Garland. At 6 for the Nets, I actually could see them going Nate Ament here. I think that is a guy they're pretty high on after taking Jaeger Zoman, as early as they did last year. I think that they could have the same kind of idea in mind in place for Nate Ament. But there are so many great guards available, and one of those great guards is Mr. Kingston Flemings. And I do think they'll end up with Kingston. I can see Kingston falling, but he's another great pick and roll point guard alongside Traore. But I think you just take the best player available, and for them, it's going to be Kingston or Keaton Wagler. Either one of those guys, to me, works, but I think Wagler is kind of a fall type of player, a guy who could slide in the draft. At 7, to the Kings, it's the most perfect dream pairing in the draft, in my opinion. Acuff is just a ball-dominant, score-first guard who is very good at getting buckets. Also a good passer, but he's one of the worst defenders I've ever seen. Technically, fundamentally, just in terms of anything. Not very stout defensively, gets bullied around, doesn't seem like an athlete, doesn't move laterally well. So I think this is going to be Darius Acuff. The Hawks at 8. I think this is a potential, and I wanted to do trades, but it's so hard to predict trades. I think this is a potential swap here. The Hawks going up to 6, the Nets trading down to get, a little more assets. I don't think 23, maybe they could trade for 23. Probably would want a little more than that for a 2-pick jump. But at 8 to the Hawks, it's a very interesting spot. But with Ademara still here, them still needing kind of a true big, I really like the fit. I like the player. And I think the Hawks would end up taking Ademara. At 9, Keaton Wagler falling out this far, to me, screams take him. He's a guy who can play off ball, can play on ball, do whatever you really need him to do. I think he fits really well with Coop and just brings out this fun side of Coop where you can run him at the 1 or run him off the ball, whatever, and Keaton can do the same. And then maybe you can get Kyrie to stay and you're running a really fun lineup of Kyrie, maybe Max Christie, Keaton Wagler, I don't know, Coop, Gafford, Lively, Washington still there, whatever. At 10 to the Bucks, unfortunately, I think this is going to be the Nate Ament spot. Really good wing. Really good wing is a stretch. Really good is a stretch. He's a wing. Very raw. They've had success with the raw development before. They've also had some failures with that. But obviously Giannis comes to mind. I don't think Ament is going to end up being the Giannis build, but he did add 15 pounds from his high school summer to this freshman year. He's probably going to add some more weight. And I do think that ended up hurting his jumper a little bit, which came into play a good amount, in my opinion. I think he got a little more stiff as a driver, as a defender, and him turning out to be an average defender, to me, is a very positive, because I do think he can shoot it at a better clip than 33%, I believe is what he shot in college. So I don't entirely hate the pick. I've actually started to grow on Ament as this cycle has progressed, but I still don't think he's worth the 10th pick, but I do think that's going to be what ends up happening. At 11, this is such an interesting spot. It's another spot where I could see these two flipping. I could also see 12 and 17 being traded for 10, something crazy happening. We've seen the LeBaron stuff. I've seen the Braden Burry stuff. I've thought about Yaxel. I like Jaden Quayton's here. I think these are the 5 that are going to go. I haven't heard... Well, shit. That was an accident. 1 second. All right, we're back. The 2 guys I've seen the Warriors be high on is Burries and Lindeberg. I do think that Quaintance and Steinbach are potential fits. I've seen LeBaron Philon mocked here a lot. I don't think that's going to end up happening. I love the Yaxel fit. I think that Yaxel could go there. And especially if the Thunder stick, I think Yaxel is going to fall there. Philon would be my pick, but at this point, from what I've heard and what I've seen, it seems like it's going to be a Burries spot at 12 if the Thunder stick and pick. I like Burries there. And then 13, to me, this becomes the obvious Philon spot. We'll talk a little bit about Burries to the Thunder. Burries play off ball, can play a little on ball, runs in transition really well. Good transition finisher, competitive defender, just a pro player, in college is what it seemed. So I think that's a really good spot for him to go. And then at 13, LeBaron Philon, kind of just, with the Tyler Hero rumors, with the Giannis rumors, I think this could be potentially the Bucks pick even at 13. But with those rumors in mind, I don't hate Philon there, and he can go in and be the guy and blossom into the star that I think he's going to be. 14 to the Hornets. They need a big who can rebound, in my opinion. They need a big who can rebound, be physical. The big reason they lost to the Magic is because they got out-physicaled. Hannes Steinbach, I think, is just such a beautiful fit at 14 to the Hornets. He's a guy who brings a lot of athleticism at the 5, straight line athleticism. Not a great rim protector, but I think he even can is going to be able to stretch the floor in the future, maybe in a year or two, and maybe even next year you can get him in the hub and just see how that works, even though the Hornets don't really do that much. But Hannes runs the floor really well, so you can get out and run as you're used to. And again, really good shooting indicators at 34% and 76% from the line, 34% from 3. Next pick, the Bulls at 15. Slap is the big thing for them. I love Jaden Quaintance here, but I don't think it's going to be him. I think it's going to be Cam Carr. Again, slap. What is it? Size, length, athleticism, physicals. Physicality. Physicals. It's one of those two. Kind of the same thing. Cam Carr fits slap really well. It brings another shooter. You have Modest. You have now Caleb Wilson, Noah Senge, Leonard Miller. You don't really need to add more like long, foreplay is what I was going to say. That's probably not the right word to use, but you don't need to add more, long 4s, 4 or 5s, in my opinion. Maybe Quaintance does fit. I also just thought about the fact that the Hornets might take Merez Johnson there, and I like that a little better. I actually think that's the pick they're going to go with. We might have to reset. I'll be back. All right, we fixed it. Merez is now a Hornet. I like Merez Johnson a little more. Run the floor, defend, super physical. Is short. Man, am I dumb? Maybe it is going to be Steinbach. Goodness gracious. I think it's a toss-up. I think Merez is more physical, a little faster, more athletic. Good defender. Can allow you to still play small and be physical. I like it. I like Merez. I think Merez is going to go lottery, and I want to give him the lottery pick. So we'll keep him there. The Grizzlies, very, very interesting spot to me. Obviously just took Darren Peterson. Have Zach Edey, who is one of the more premier bigs in the NBA at this point, especially advanced analytically. He's unbelievable. Scottie Pippen Jr. is out there. He's probably not really a swing guy. But Darren, Edey, that's your core. Probably not going to take Steinbach. I don't think you even take Quaintance. I love, though, Dalen Swain to the Grizzlies, a guy who can just get downhill, force his way inside. I also like him to the Hornets. I think he adds a lot of interior presence, just being able to make plays, getting downhill and inside. But to me, I think the Grizz are going to take the Dalen Swain swing and go ahead and draft him there. For the Thunder, definitely going to be a big here. I believe in Sorber a lot. I think the Thunder do as well. That's why they took him at 15, knowing he was injured. But to me, this feels like a beautiful Quaintance spot. Even though Steinbach does kind of fit the Hartenstein role, I think Quaintance fits the play next to Chet role better, especially defensively, and the Thunder can develop the offensive game of Quaintance. That's kind of the question with him to me. At 18 now to the Hornets, very interesting spot. My thought immediately is we need a guy who can get downhill, get paint touches. Abuka Okori, if he falls this far, it would kind of be crazy to me. Maybe not. It wouldn't be crazy, but I do think he could be taken earlier, maybe like to the Bulls. But I love Abuka Okori here to the Hornets at 18. With LaMelo having the size he has, he can play alongside of him. Obviously have Khan, Brandon Miller, LaMelo. They're all great shooters. Don't think they get downhill enough. Don't think they finish inside consistently enough. And that's where Abuka Okori comes in and does his thing. Maybe not as great of a rim finisher as you'd like him to be, but a really, really good just driving kicker. At 19 to the Raptors, Bennett Sturts. It feels perfect. The guy who can play on and off ball next to Quickly, not without Quickly, whatever you need. Bring some spacing with Scotty Barnes if he wants to handle it. But I just think he's just a perfect under control point guard. I have him like 7th on my board. I think it's a beautiful fit for them. At 20, the Spurs is another one that just feels so obvious. Allen Graves, a guy who can play the 4 right next to Wemby, he's a really good at steals guy, pretty good shot, pretty decent shot blocker. Probably not where you want him to be. Can stretch the floor a little bit. Fouls a little much, but alongside Wemby, that is kind of a skill or a lack thereof, lack of skill that can kind of be hidden or covered up by Wemby. And then at 21 here to the Pistons, I think it's going to be Christian Anderson. I think they need a guard who's consistent enough as a playmaker to play not just when Cade's out of the game, but alongside Cade. I think Christian Anderson's the perfect guy. Skilled shot maker, skilled playmaker, skilled handler. I'm much higher on him than 21, I can tell you that. I think the Pistons could get a guy here. At 22, there's something about Sinak to the Sixers to me that really just, I like it. But with Hannes Steinbach falling this far, and it's hard for me to believe he's going to fall this far, I'm going to take him at 22. The Joel Embiid thing, it's been weird, been complicated. He gets injured a lot, doesn't play a ton. I think this is a perfect backup big guy who can maybe slide in as Joel Embiid does get older. I mean, he's getting pretty old at this point, even though he is so skilled. I think this is a really good spot for Steinbach. At 23 to the Hawks, this is an interesting spot. I haven't thought of this one much. Just taking Ademara. It's a lot of weirdness going on over there. A lot of solid players. Pretty good shooting team. I mean, they have a good athlete at the 4 already. There's a certain guy I want to take because I think it'd be awesome. His same name as me, Richie Saunders. I think he is much better than people give him credit for. The ACL injury hurts his stock for me. But he's so good. Could fit in. I think he's so NBA ready in my opinion. I also don't hate Sergio Delaria here. A guy who can handle the ball a little bit. Actually, let's go there. Sergio Delaria, my rationale for that is he's a guy who can handle the ball a little bit, even at 6'6". They have a lot of guys who just handle it. You're not going to get a point guard at the spot. If you take Ademara, you're not going to get a point guard really at all in this draft. So why not take a guy who can play on the ball like Nickeil Alexander-Walker does, like CJ McCollum does, like Dyson Daniels does, and just kind of have the ball in your hands, be a solid enough passer to where you can kind of play group point guard. I like that for them. Delaria at 23. 24, my favorite fit in all the draft is Henry Vesar. And I think I've done this in every mock draft. I'm going to continue to do it in every mock draft. He's a guy who can play the pinch post. He can pass. He can run the hub. There were times this year where he and Caleb Wilson were running inverted pick and roll, and Henry Vesar was handling it. Like, really good player. Shot 41, 42, 43% from 3 this year on 3 attempts or something, 4 maybe. He's a guy. I think he's a guy more than people have given him credit for. 25 to the Lake Show. To me, again, Joshua Jefferson. I think I've done that. And then the pick I'm probably about to do. No, I'm probably not going to do that this time. But Josh Jefferson is another good passer, really good feel, has all of the... Obviously was a star in college, but has all of the intangibles. He's overqualified to be a role player, and that's exactly what you want out of a role player. The jump shot needs to come along, but he's baby Braun. I'm kidding, but he's really good role player. At 26, we're going to go Chris Sinak Jr. I think he fits really well alongside Jokic. Obviously not this year, not next year, not the year after, but maybe in 3 years, maybe in 4. I think Sinak's mid-range shooting is really good rebounding, his athleticism. I like the fit with Denver at 26. 27, it just feels so Karim Lopez-y, but also Taurus Reed, Zubi Ejiofor, both fit. Let's go Taurus Reed at 27. Reed is really good in the post, great rebounder, can block some shots. I think it's just a fun, different big from Neemi's Keita. Neemius. Is that how you say it? Neemius? I always just call him Neemi. But I like that fit there. 28 to the Wolves. Again, not going to get a point guard here. I think this is going to be my Richie Saunders shout. Give him Richie Saunders. Good shooter again. Really good role player. Great hands. Gets steals. There was a play this year where he was literally laying on his back, reached up and stole a ball. It was magnificent. But yeah, I like his fit. 29 to the Cavs. I'm going to go Karim Lopez. Kind of a do-it-all wing. Doesn't do anything well, excellently, but does everything good. Good defender, good passer, decent shooter. Kind of just a decent player. At 30, last pick. Don't hate Isaiah Evans. Give the Mavs more shooting. Don't hate Kobe Pete either. More athleticism, rebounding. Let's go Isaiah Evans though, as the last pick in my predictive mock draft. I don't think I did a bad job. If I nail, I think this is nailed. Let's just go through and I'm gonna say what I believe is 100%ers. 1, 2. Oh, don't need that. 1, 2, 3. Yeesh. 4, 5. I'm pretty close. I think I could get, let's say 6, 7, and one of these feels like it's going to hit. 8. If I could get 8 right in any order, doesn't matter even if it's not those, but I do think that I have 5 gimmies. I'll say 4. I don't really know what the Spurs feel on Allen Graves, but I know Sturts, Acuff, McHale, and Caleb Wilson. It just feels too right. So 4, I think are going to hit. If I can get 8, I would be ecstatic. But that is going to do it for the predictive mock draft. I hope y'all enjoyed. I hope y'all leave a comment and tell me if you've heard something from your favorite team. Because obviously it's pretty hard to cover or to keep track of every team's opinions on every single player. I tried to do my best, especially within the lottery. But to be honest, past pick like 13, past that Heat pick, I have no idea what's going to happen. You kind of have a feel of, especially this top 9 group, I would say. Can I get back there? This like top 9 group, that's 8, top 9 group. It feels like it's going to be these 9 players in some type of order. After that, it gets a little rougher. Yaxel's going to go eventually in that group. Bryn Burries and LeBaron Philon are probably going to go eventually in that group. Before 20 for sure. Other than that, it's pretty rough. But I hope y'all enjoyed. Again, please leave a comment if you think, I did something wrong or if you've heard something different. But yeah, I hope y'all enjoyed. If you did, please leave a like, subscribe, leave a comment. Peace.